Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them. And we kind of have a good news, bad news situation going on here. The bad news is my Diamond shipment is delayed again this week. So I do not have the comics here. But the good news is that some people got together and they really helped me out, and I got to read advanced PDFs of a lot of the publisher's books. So the publishers, the people, you know who you are, Station, thank you so much for giving us the weekly comic book review still this week on time, with the majority of the comic books I intended to read on the list. Let's get into it with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Homesick Pilots, issue number 4. Dan Watters, Casper Wingard. This book is absolutely freaking amazing, and it is getting better and better each issue. For me, this was by far the best issue of this series. It really starts ramping up not just the emotion, not just the thematic material of the story, not just the exploration on punk rock, its culture, and everything about that, but it really ramps up the action. I was not anticipating this book to be such an action-packed book at issue 4, but it is. It's highly octane. It's got a lot of energy. The coloring is absolutely amazing. The artwork is clean, but it's dynamic, and that movement and that energy, snap, crackle, and pop off of the page. Homesick Pilots is doing a great job with characterization, subtext, and just also crafting and creating an incredibly exhilarating experience with ghosts, action, punk rock, and mystery, and I'm loving it. That's Homesick Pilots number 4 from Image Comics, the pick of the week. Also from Image Comics, we had Karmen number 1 from Gillian March. I think this is like a French comic or something that is being translated now and released in America. Now we know March's work from recent issues of Batman, from Gotham City Sirens, from Catwoman, whatnot. This was actually a very interesting book. It's kind of about this lady who dies, and like an angel of death is like now her guide through the afterlife, or the purgatorial afterlife stuck on Earth, or something like that, right? It's got a charm about it. The artwork is really good. Like, this is definitely something you can tell that March was able to put time into, so the artwork was cool. If you're not into nudity, I would highly anticipate that you wouldn't like this book, because the chick dies and she's just nude the whole damn time. But I think it's done in a charming, slightly tasteful way, which to me is kind of odd considering some of March's other work. But I found it to be rather enjoyable. It's not going to be for everybody. I don't know how well the translation comes across. Some of the dialogue feels clunky at times, but other times it feels really cool. There's some great ideas there. And I liked what it set up. I found it to be rather enjoyable. What I did not find enjoyable is Deep Beyond number 2. Deep Beyond number 2. I don't even know why I read it. I didn't intend on reading this book, but I was like, you know what? Space Bastards I'm missing out on this week. So sure, let's just read the second issue of Deep Beyond. And I was very confused by the first issue. I felt like the story was jarring, disconnected. So in the second issue, there's this nice synopsis. So I read it and I was like, okay, I guess that's what's going on. And then I started reading this book, and once again, just choppy, jaunting, jolting, it's just imbalanced. It doesn't work for me. It's clunky, and I'm probably done with that. Now let's jump over to Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics had Amazing Spider-Man 61 by Nick Spencer and Patrick Gleason. This is one of those okay issues of Spider-Man. Now, I'm not like super excited about it or thrilled, and here's the big thing. This was a Boomerang-centric issue. Again, not centric on Boomerang. It's centric on Spidey, his new costume, his new job. And the big problem with this is that they tease it. They're like on the cover. They're like, this is a great brand new era, jumping on point for Spider-Man. No, No, it's not. They still haven't finished anything that's been established like 60-something issues ago. Plus more because of all the point BSs. This is ridiculous. This isn't a new fresh start. If you haven't been reading Spider-Man, you're going to be lost as hell. You're not even going to know who that monster dude is at the very beginning. Oh, by the way, that's Kindred. They still haven't really gotten into that. Not really. They're still slowly building into the Kingpin stuff, but every page with Boomerang shines. Seriously, I love the character of Boomerang. I love the way he works in this story. And I love, is it Gog? Their little cute little pet now? I love it. And the ending has me really intrigued to come back. This is the first time in a while that I've gotten to the end of a Spider-Man issue and said, I cannot wait to see how that happens, how that pans out. But the whole idea of Spidey's new costume, his new job, all that stuff is so whack, so dumb, and there's no way Peter Parker would ever do that. I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to ramble too much about Amazing Spider-Man. I read Children of the Atom. Children of the Atom is the new X book. It's like a year late. Written by Vita Ayala. The artwork by Bernard Chang. This book was okay, but not great. It was kind of run-of-the-mill average. It's about these new mutants. They're young mutants. They are not joining Krakoa for some reason. It's about who they are. It's introducing them. And I can get behind it. The thing, though, is that they have the powers of some of the other X-Men. Now, they're also fans of the X-Men, but it just so coincidentally happens that one of them has, like, Cyclops' power. One has Gambit's power. And one has Angel's power, kind of, in a way, right? So, and one's got Nightcrawler's power, and he's called Daycrawler or something like that. Okay. If they would have just been new mutants, right, that were being introduced, I could get with it. But there's something going on because they have these same powers. Like, I want to feel like this is something that, like, Sinister's doing. We've already talked about cloning and how he's got these genomes and all this kind of stuff. So I feel like there's something more sinister going on. But as the book progresses, it doesn't really lean into that. It's just introducing these characters. And I did find the characters to be decent enough. But the whole structure of the story and how it relates to Krakoa and the X-Men, I did like. So I thought it was okay. It wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't super, super cool. But it wasn't bad. I did enjoy Children of the Atom. Daredevil 28, though, was a masterful issue of Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, Marco Cicchetto. The artwork was great. A big spotlight on Matt Murdock that really gets into some really great, like, dramatic reveals and lingerings on the character of Murdock. You got a little bit of extra action. You got some really interesting stuff being done with Kingpin in the pages of Daredevil. The script starting to feel like it's getting a bit leaner. Like Zdarsky has more confidence in his dialogue, so he's letting it flow a little bit more freely, take a little bit less room on the page to let the artwork shine a little bit more. But in this, you basically have Kingpin. So you got Wilson Fisk, you got Elektra, and you got Matt. All three kind of going through a dark night of the soul to lead into something, right? And I thought the thematics of this book were very, very relevant and cool. I really liked Daredevil number 28. I almost said Deadpool because Deadpool Nerdy 30 is here. It's an oversized issue. It's pretty much got anybody who's ever made a significant stamp on the Deadpool book is a part of this. So you got Fabian Nicieza, you got Joe Kelly, you got Scotty Young, you got Kelly Thompson, you've got Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn, Daniel Way, Gail Simone, and of course Rob Liefeld. There's a Rob Liefeld story at the end that I thought was rather ridiculous, but whatever. I thought all the stories were ridiculous. Deadpool's not really my jam, so this wasn't for me. But if you're a big Deadpool fan, if you've liked any, like if you're a fan of Deadpool, this book is a must-read because it really is the standout talents from the history of Deadpool. So there you go. Deadpool's Nerdy 30, celebrating 30 years of the Merc with a Mouth. Eternals number 3 came out this week. It was more interesting and a little bit more coherent than issue 1 and 2, but I felt like the artwork's getting a little bit rushed and sloppy. At times it doesn't feel that way, but at times it does. It still has a tonal clash to me because it's trying to be this slow, deliberate, world-building kind of Hickman-y type thing, but at the same time it's got this sense of humor and quirkiness and zaniness about it that Hickman can do the same thing, but I think it balances itself better in other things. Gillen's able to balance it better in certain things, like Wicked and the Divine's got that kind of tongue-in-cheekness to it, but it doesn't seem to fit tonally with the artwork or the design of this Eternals book. And they're getting into some interesting ideas, but It's all been rather dull still. It's a dull book. There's nothing exciting about it. And when I think Jack Kirby, I don't think non-exciting, you know? So I'm having some problems with Eternals. Immortal Hulk 44 is out this week, and it was a fantastic issue because Joe Bennett doing some absolute crazy bonkers body horror type stuff in the pages of a mainstream Marvel comic. And sometimes we forget, because Immortal Hulk is a little bit of a taking too long to get to where it's going. Sometimes it feels like that at times, but by the way, in this issue, we hit a point that's the next big turning point, and obviously we're gearing up towards the end of Immortal Hulk here. So this is the big, whoa, okay, now we're ready for the end game. The end game is approaching. But the artwork, Joe Bennett's doing an amazing job, and I feel like it's been a while since we've had some really we have like gnarly moments in like every issue or two of Immortal Hulk, but in the early days we were having like multiple gnarly moments throughout the whole thing, right? And in this issue, you get more of that, and some really cool concepts and ideas that Al Ewing is exploring there. Immortal Hulk 44, really liked it. Non-Stop Spider-Man #1. It's a new Spider-Man book written by Joe Kelly with artwork by Chris Picciolo. The story is decent enough. It's a nice character-based story focusing on Peter, and I don't know if these characters are new, but I don't remember them. But there's a death of a character, and he's trying to console this woman or whatever. But the book's called Non-Stop Spider-Man, and it's supposed to basically be like a non-stop action thing, right? And for the most part, that's what the structure of the story is. But it gets bogged down by excessive narration, and Chris Picciolo's artwork doesn't feel free, loose, or flowy. He does this, first of all, he does this thing where all the panels on the action scenes are slanted, and I like that technique and I applaud it. But the letterer feels the need to go askew with the page or with the panel. So, and I don't like that. I thought that was a little, I don't know, didn't really like that. Chris Picciolo lately in his recent years, I feel like, you know, when you watch a movie and you're like, oh, those fight scenes, they were too up close, too quick cuts, you couldn't really make out of like a free flow of what was happening. That's what this book feels like. So there are some moments in this book that could have been really, really cool, but the way that he crowds the page, the way that he crowds a panel, and he doesn't keep everything completely all in view, it kind of clutters it up too much, and it kind of makes it just a bit clunky for me, and it kind of saddened me because I was looking forward to this book and I found it to be rather disappointing. One book that wasn't disappointing was Strange Academy #9. Once again, Humberto Ramos on the book. I cannot believe it, and the artwork has not taken a dive. This is some of the best artwork on the series yet. It is Parent/Guardian Day at Strange Academy. So that leads to some really fun, humorous, and exciting moments between Loki and some of the other parents at the Strange Academy. It's an interesting story. It's like the X-Men School for Gifted Youngsters, but a magical-based one in the Marvel Universe. They've introduced a whole slew of new characters. They've been very, very captivating. And in this issue, they get to spotlight a couple of my favorites, including Kid Dormammu, and I'm just digging it. The artwork is so amazing. Scotty Young's doing a great job with this story, keeping it light, keeping it fun, keeping it near enough to all ages, but still having some grave consequences and some high-stakes action going on, and nice subplots building in the background. Thor and Loki Double Trouble #1 from Mariko Tamaki and Guri Hiro. I believe that's the exact same team from the Venom Spider-Man Double Trouble, which was a little all-ages, goofy, silly, fun little take on that, and that's what this is. A goofy, silly, fun, all-ages take on Thor and Loki. You know, there's their sibling rivalry, the excessiveness of it, but it was rather cute and charming, and I thought that it was really cool. So if you got an MCU fan, a little one, I would highly encourage you to check it out for them, because if they're a big fan of Thor and Loki especially, it was cute and it was cool and it wasn't super scary or anything like that. Then we got Wolverine Black, White, and Blood #4. It was alright. This was definitely the weakest issue of the series yet, which this is the final issue. Next up we got Carnage, Black, White, and Blood. But this one had work by Kelly Thompson, Ed Brisson. The first story by Kelly Thompson is actually pretty cool, and the artwork's really good. But then the rest of it, I just don't feel like the artist in this issue took advantage of the format and the stylistic nature of it, like the artwork in the first 2 issues in particular I thought were more strong. But this one was all right, and it has some pretty decent Wolverine stories. Let's jump over to DC, where we actually got some physical copies. First up, we got The Joker #1, written by James Tynion IV with artwork by Gillian March. It's got a backup story too with Sam Johns as the co-writer, and the artist on the backup story is Mirka Andolfo. I thought so. I had to double check that. I really liked The Joker. So when this book was first announced, and this is part of DC Infinite Frontier. When this book was first announced, I was very hesitant about it because I don't usually like books that are dealing with villains, like solo books for villains, right? And Joker's definitely not an anti-hero like the Punisher or Venom, right? So I had my suspicions about it. But James Tynion said that this is actually a Gordon book, not a Joker book, but it's a book in which the Joker's presence is felt. Yes, 100%. This is a James Gordon book, post-Commissioner James Gordon, post-Joker War, post-A-Day, because the A-Day thing, the gassing of Arkham Asylum, which killed a lot of inmates, including Bane, allegedly, we're getting to see the post-A-Day Gotham starting to form in these pages. You get to see some of the dramatic things that people will go to, the extremes they'll go to after A-Day, and the fear of the Joker, and maybe the Joker's behind it and everything. But it's about Gordon. He's basically being headhunted by this group of criminals to find and kill the Joker. And they want to pay him a lot of money to do it. Now, this is a book in which the Joker's presence is totally felt. He's only in it for just a little bit, but he is definitely seeped into every single page. But it is through and through a James Gordon detective noir story with amazing artwork from March, really solid. The backup story is pretty decent too. It's dealing with Punchline, it's dealing with the media circus around her trial, and all the Joker Punchline support that's being felt in the community. And Gotham is building into an interesting place right now between this stuff going on in Detective Comics, which we haven't even seen the new, jab on that, but between Batman, between the Joker, and what they're building into, and the Magistrate stuff that we already know. And this is really interesting stuff. Great artwork, a great story. It's $5, but you get a 22-page Joker story, and you get an 8-page Punchline story. I rather enjoyed it. Next up, we got Batman Urban Legends #1. This is a new Batman anthology series. It's going to go for 6 issues. It's a $7.99 comic book. It is in continuity. It's DC Infinite Frontier. This was actually really good, and for me, well worth the $8. And in fact, out of all the $8 books that DC's been doing, this is the one that's the most worth it, because it's got 2 full comic book stories and 2 short stories, and they were all pretty freaking cool. The first one is a Chip Zdarsky and Eddie Barrows and Marcus Toe Red Hood Batman story that's going to really shake and test the relationship between Jason and Bruce, and I really liked it. And I'm not usually into the Red Hood, but that was a damn good story, and there was more Jason than there was Bruce. There was a little bit of Barbara in there as well. I really liked it. I thought that the Zdarsky brought the same thing to this book that he's brought to Marvel by understanding the legacy, understanding the history of these characters, but still being able to make it feel fresh yet classic at the same time. Then we have a full-on, that's a 24-page story, by the way. Then we have a 22-page Grifter story by Matthew Rosenberg that I just absolutely loved. Some mentions of some Wildstorm characters, some appearances of some more Wildstorm characters in this new Infinite Frontier version of Wildstorm in the DC universe. I'm done with that now. But I really liked it. I'm a big Grifter fan, and Matthew Rosenberg, his style of writing, the way he likes to write these quirky, can never do right characters, always down on their luck. He fits so perfectly with Cold Cash, and I loved it. Then there's an 8-page Harley Quinn story written by Stephanie Phillips. It was really cool. It was kind of about her reminiscing and recollecting about her relationship with Poison Ivy, and it seems like it's set up for the ongoing Harley series, which is about to launch. And then there was a 10-page Outsider story that was fun and cool and felt a little classic. but it was probably one of the least memorable ones in here. But that being said, 64 pages of story, no ads, prestige format. Really liked it. Thought it was super cool. Superman is here. It's not written by Bendis. Superman number 29. This is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, who is recently doing the Future State Superman stuff. Not the Jonathan stuff, but Phil Hester on the artwork. Now, I really, really like Phil Hester's artwork a lot. I know a lot of people may not like it. They may feel like it's too simple, not enough like a house style. I really like it. It's got a simple angular style. But this book breezes through at a leisurely pace. It just goes. It's brisk, actually, not leisurely. It's a leisurely, brisk pace. But I really liked it. They're building this mystery about something's up with Jonathan. He's from the future. He knows something about Superman, something he's going to come across, something dangerous. It's muddying up the waters. Philip Kennedy Johnson understands the concept and nature of Superman, and here he, along with Phil Hester, is crafting a very action-oriented, superhero-y, brisk comic book that's building seeds, or planting seeds, and then building mystery, and developing character, and doing something interesting with the whole Jonathan living in the future for a while. And also, just for me, a big breath of fresh air post-Bendis. So I thought this was pretty solid. Not spectacular, but solid. Wonder Woman 770. This one's pretty solid as well. Not as solid to me as the Superman, but this one has some really solid artwork. Travis Moore's artwork in this is clean. It is detailed. It is textured. It's got background. It is rich. We got beautiful coloring from Tamara Bonvillain. Wonder Woman 770 I really like. So after the events of Infinite Frontier number zero, Wonder Woman has denied herself godhood. Now she's lost somewhere in the sphere of the gods, and in here she pops into Valhalla. Right, so she's dealing with Norse mythology here, and Ragnarok and everything. So it's a really cool mixing of the mythologies there. She kind of doesn't really know who she is, and she's just becoming a warrior now. She's developing friendships and relationships, and pretty interesting stuff. Wonder Woman 770 was a complete new direction. It's got a backup story, by the way. The Superman one has a backup story, and the Wonder Woman one has a backup story. Superman backup story I liked. Longtime Superman fans will like that backup story. It deals with Bibbo. The backup story here is okay, but it seems to be teasing up the idea that these backup stories are going to be the history of Themyscira, and that's interesting enough, but the main story, I really liked it, and that art was spectacular. Speaking of spectacular artwork, The Green Lantern Season 2, number 12, it's here. This is the final issue of Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp's Green Lantern run. I am going to be sad to see this go. This book has been cosmic. It has been psychedelic. It has been imaginative. It has been bold. It has been experimental. It has been innovative, and it has been so much fun. This is the best artwork of Liam Sharp's career, y'all. It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. The ideas, they're still there. I've said it before, and let me say it one more time since this is the final issue. Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp are veterans in this industry, and they are cranking out one of the most wildly imaginative and fresh and youthful feeling Green Lantern books I have ever read. This is so different, so wild, so beyond what you're expecting. And it's a challenging book, but if you put in the work, it rewards you every time you reread it. Green Lantern Season 2, number 12, a magnificent ending. Then we got Rorschach, number 6 is here. What an amazing issue of Rorschach. I feel so bad that I talk so much smack about the first issue because I have loved each issue since then, and in particular, issue number 6. The way that Tom King is playing with the structure, the way that Jorge Fornes uses the story structure and the idea of an homage to Watchmen, but the way they put their own stamp to it, the way they do their own thing about it, really great. This whole issue is really taking all these different elements, the stuff going on with the political race during the debate, the detective continuing to find out more and more about the story, and letters being written back and forth between this comic book artist and this young girl, and how they wind up becoming the new Rorschach and his sidekick, and then wind up trying to assassinate the president, or the president, not the guy who's running for president or something, and then they get killed. Like, it's all this mystery, and it's just being wrapped up in such a nice bow, and it's just so masterfully done. Rorschach number 6, whoa! That was crazy. So some more digitals. Let's go to Boom from Boom Studios. I read The Last Witch Number 3, really liked it. It's a great all-ages story that's got high stakes and some nice explorations on themes of grief, and pain, and love and family. So I really like it. It's about this young woman who gets this mark, and she realizes that she's the last hope in this village to go and kill these witches that have been just basically devastating the town. She's got a brother. This book will have you on the edge of your seats. It's got wonderful artwork. It's very cartoony, but I mean that in a very positive way because it's like an animated film. It is gorgeous. It is masterfully written. It's very thick, but it's a breeze to read through. The colors are luscious, and this keeps surprising me issue to issue how freaking good The Last Witch is from Boom Studios. That's by Connor McCreary with artwork by V.V. Glass. I read Luna number 2. So lost. The artwork is neat and it's kind of psychedelic. There's this like vampire tinge to it, but it's not really like that. But it goes off into this weird direction. It feels disjointed. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it's supposed to be so psychedelic it feels like you're reading it on drugs. But for me, I thought the artwork was interesting enough in the first issue, but nothing in the second issue really pulled me in to want more. Mighty Morphin number 5. This is the origin of the new Green Ranger. Now that the identity has been revealed, we get to see how it happened. So this is a flashback issue that goes along with scenes that we've seen before and then leads it right back up into the modern day. It was very well done. Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers have been very well done by Ryan Parrott and company. They've been so well-rounded, action-oriented, building on the mythology that has already been established, but establishing new rules, new things, including a new Green Ranger. And even though the identity reveal was very obvious to me, I'm rather enjoying it. Proctor Valley Road, number 1. It's a new Grant Morrison book. Well, it's co-written by Grant Morrison. It's written by Grant Morrison and Alex Child. It's got artwork by Naomi Franquiz, coloring by Tamara Bonvillain, Jim Campbell on the lettering. I really like this one. It's set in 1970. It's about this group of friends, these 4 young women, and they're trying to get tickets for a Janis Joplin show. They're trying to figure out ways that they can hustle and make money, and they decide that, oh, there's this spooky place, you know, Proctor Valley Road, and they're going to take these people there and charge them to go on a ghost tour, and it goes horribly freaking wrong, but I really liked it. It has a lot to say about the time of 1970. It has a lot to say about humanity. It has a lot to say about those characters, and I also just found it to be very fun, and it had that Grant Morrison touch, and it's already been optioned, I'm pretty sure, for a movie or whatever, but it was pretty solid. I liked the artwork. It was clean and simple. It did its job. Overall, I thought it was a really solid concept, introducing characters that I kind of got right along with, and then setting up a really cool, like, monster story or something. It's been likened to Paper Girls or Stranger Things. It's kind of got that vibe a little bit, but like I said, 1970, so it's staunch right into the era of Vietnam, so it's speaking some things about that. It's speaking some things about these young women and their relationship, and just, I really liked it. I thought it was incredibly well done. SPECTER Inspectors number 2, a great second issue, really building on what was established in the first issue. It's about this group of friends, and they're trying to do this ghost hunting show, and in the first issue, one of their friends gets possessed by a demon. So now they are enlisting said demon's help to actually go and find and film a real ghost so they can actually make it, also at the same time trying to help the demon so the demon will then fulfill its bargain to leave their friend alone. Meanwhile, she still has some faculty there as well, and it's kind of going back and forth. The artwork has got a simple, animated, stylish approach to it that I really, really like. I think it's a solid book. 2 issues in. I think I'm hooked into this one until the bitter end. What else we got? We got Vault Comics. Thank you, Vault, so much for hooking me up. Autumnal number 5 is out this week. Daniel Kraus, Chris Sheehan, Jason Wordy, Jim Campbell. Oh my goodness, I'm loving this book. I thought the book took a while to really get into what was going on. But there was a sense, by the amazing coloring, it's all fall-based, autumn, the leaves are moving, there's something weird and mysterious going on in this town, and here in issue number 5, it is breaking out. And it's breaking out big, and you're starting to really understand the bigger picture of what's happening, and the more that's revealed, the creepier and scarier the story has gotten. And I really, really like it. It feels heavy. The artwork really helps cement that. There's some great emotional moments in here. There's some great shocking reveals. And there's some really great just creepy moments. And without using a ton of the typical tricks like dark and gloomy, but, you know, fiery oranges and reds and that sense of autumn, and making that feel creepy and feeling the crisp on the air. And whew! This was a very well done book that actually entertained all of the senses, no lie. Vampire the Masquerade #6. I read this one at the start of the new arc. The trade paperback of the first arc is out this week. I'm going to reread that eventually because I've never really known anything about the lore of Vampire the Masquerade. I really like the book. I like the approach, but it's just, I feel lost, but I really like the artwork, so I think I'm definitely going to read the trade and then reread this issue. Because I'm kind of lost and a little confused on it. And then Wasted Space #20 is out this week. This is the final issue of Arc 4, I believe. We're now hitting the end game. The end game's approaching. Infinite Frontier. Anyway, just do all the bits at once. Get it out of the system. Wasted Space #20 was masterful. It was definitely, to me, one of the strongest issues of this arc. You got another moment of Billy, once again, coming around and understanding that he's got to do what he's got to do. But I love how Michael Morisi puts a little bit in there where he's trying to do the spiel again. And Molly's just like, no, we've heard this. We're good. Some great scenes with Dust. I thought the ending was going to go in a whole different direction, but I'm very happy it went in the direction it did. Hayden Sherman, they're just becoming absolutely even more solid of an artist. Each issue, each series, it's been fantastic. I love the layouts. They're different. It's unique. The work is textured, it's layered, it's got a lot of grit and detail to it that's really enhanced by the coloring by Jason Wordie, the lettering, everything about it is amazing. Some great moments and a great setup for the epic finale, the final arc of Wasted Space. That will be next. From Aftershock, we got Scout's Honor #3 from David Pepose. David, thank you for sending me a copy. I didn't get to read Knock 'em Dead, #3, from Elliot Rahal, but that's out this week too. Or is it #4? It's one of them. Anyway, Scout's Honor #3 was a great issue. So this is a post-apocalyptic world in which a segment of society has rebuilt itself based on the Boy Scout manual, but a really twisted, perverted version of it. And it's led to this just crazy, like Mad Max type society, right? And so you got this young woman who is pretending to be a boy so she can infiltrate this and find out the mystery and everything, take a vengeance on her father. She's trying to hit the top dog, the Eagle Scout, the Eagle Ranger, whatever it is, and her best friend, who are now like at odds with one another. And by the way, his father is the leader of the scouts or whatever. Now they're doing this like very Goblet of Fire type tournament to find out who's going to be the Tri-Wizard champion or whatever, that kind of a thing. But it was very well done. The artwork by Luca I cannot remember the last name, was absolutely fantastic. I love how in each series he does, I see him shift and change his style to really make the most appropriate sense for the story, for the tone. David Pepose does a great job just pacing this yet again. Great dialogue, great characterization, great flow, all the way through to the end. Has me completely engrossed, and I'm excited to see what's coming up. From Mad Cave Studios, we got a new one. It's Nottingham #1. Nottingham #1 is kind of like the flip side of Robin Hood, so it's from the perspective of the sheriff of Nottingham. It's like a crime procedural type thing. Robin Hood and the Merry Men are kind of painted as like terrorists. It's speaking about the taxes and all the political ramifications. It was interesting. It wasn't like the best, but it was pretty solid. It was an interesting twist on the concept of Robin Hood that kept me engaged all the way through. It feels like it could be like a 40s film noir, but obviously, you know, it's set back in Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood times. But I rather enjoyed it, thought it was cool. Also from Mad Cave, we have Stargazer #6. This is the finale of Stargazer. I never would have seen this ending coming from issue 1, 2, or 3, or 4. Maybe from 5, but I loved the ending. It had a big emotional impact that I felt was very sincere, very authentic. It came across. The artwork by Antonio Fusi has been amazing. I think that's the artist's name, because I don't have it in front of me. Anthony Cleveland, I think, is the writer. Anyway, Stargazer number 6 was great, and it was a great emotional punch for the ending, and I thought that was a very bold choice. And then from AWA Upshot, we've got Redemption number 2 from Krista Faust and Mike Deodato Jr. I loved Redemption number 2. It's a sci-fi western. It's about this woman who's been wronged, and she's trying to find the most badass gunslinger out there, and it's Linda Hamilton, basically, with the robot arm. She's kind of got like Luke Skywalker or Anakin's arm, but it's all like clunky and messed up, right? And then there's the sheriff that's like hunting him down, and it's Lance Hendrickson. You know how Mike Deodato rolls. But I really like the second issue. You got a little bit of a training montage in there. You got it's kind of cliche and typical, but I found it to be really cool. And Deodato's done a lot of work recently, a lot at AWA. Some of it's felt a bit rushed and not super polished. This one feels really polished. And he's moving away, or in this series, he's moving away from the line grids that he's been doing or whatnot, but he's really just focusing back in on some nice solid storytelling, so I found it to be rather enjoyable. Then we have some Scout comics, including Shit Show number 2. I remember being intrigued and liking the first one, but I don't really remember much of it, because when I read this one, I was lost. It was confusing. It was just all over the place. There were moments of it that I thought were fun, but like I'm so lost, I really can't give it an honest review because I need to find my copy of number 1 and read it. But yeah, so there you go. Then we have a one-shot, Tart Soul Searchers. I don't know if there's ever been another Tart one-shot before this, but I'm kind of lost. I get the basic premise that it's kind of like the Strawberry Shortcake Gang as monster hunters. And that's very interesting, but I am also rather lost. But it's got some really good artwork in it. Some really great coloring. It's got like 3 or 4 different stories. I seriously lost. Like, I really don't know what's going on. But like, that was one of my favorite stories. It's got a really cutesy animated type of artwork. And then it goes back to this type stuff. But they're all like based on like, one of them is like tangerine, one of them is lemon, one's tart. I think that's tangerine on the cover there. I don't know. Like, I kind of liked it though. It's like Strawberry Shortcake and her friends as monster hunters. But I would like to know if anybody does. Was there anything before this? Because I'd like to know. Because I found it rather intriguing, but I was a bit lost. And it promises that there's more coming. So that's cool. In the summer. But I really rather like this book. But I was kind of lost and confused. Anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. There's going to be a few stragglers out there like Space Bastards that I won't be getting a chance to cover until definitely next week, though. We will hopefully be back on schedule. Diamond, you're killing me, but I appreciate everybody's help in getting me caught up and getting this video out tonight. So thank you so much, Station. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Click the notification bell. Let us know below. What are you reading? What are you digging? What's your pick of the week? What are you loving? What are you hating? Just tell us what you like about comics, movies, pop culture, and more. All that jazz. Anyway, I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.